22-23, Transfer Pricing General Guideline Goal Congruence. Quest Motors, Inc. operates as a decentralized multi-divisional company. The TiVo division of Quest Motors purchases most of its airbags from the airbag division. The airbag division's incremental cost for manufacturing the airbags is $90 per unit. So what they're talking about incremental cost is the same as a variable cost, right? Incremental, if they make one more airbag, it'll cost them $90 more. So this is the same incremental cost. Incremental cost and variable cost mean the same thing. The airbag division is currently working at 80% of capacity. The current market price of airbags is $125. Now, why is that important? Because it says that the airbag division can actually sell to other external customers. They don't have to sell to the TiVo division. They could sell to external customers, anyone. Required. Using the general guideline presented in the chapter, what is the minimum price at which the airbag division would sell airbags to TiVo division? So keep in mind the minimum price is equal to the variable cost per unit plus the opportunity cost. What is lost? Now, in this case, they're at 80% capacity, they have excess capacity, right? So if they don't sell, they don't get any money at all, right? That's what it comes down to. So variable cost in this case is $90, and we have to add in the opportunity cost, which is the contribution margin that would be lost if they sold. Right? So if they sold to somebody else, if they sold to the TiVo division, what would they lose? Well, they're going to lose nothing. They lose nothing because they're at excess capacity. They have 20% capacity. So they're not even selling up to capacity. And therefore, they're not forgoing any external profit. They're not losing any contribution margin by selling to the TiVo division. All right. So that's why the minimum price in this case is the incremental cost, the variable cost of $90. It's all dependent on whether the division, the producing division, the production division actually has excess capacity or not. And since they're not forgoing any contribution margin from external sales, transferring the airbags at the incremental cost achieves goal congruence. So let's look at the next one. So this was item 1. So here we got item 2. Suppose that Quest Motors required that whenever divisions with unused capacity sell products internally, so here we've got a required, they must do so at the incremental cost. So they're forcing them to charge only $90. Evaluate this transfer pricing policy using the criteria of goal congruence. So we got goal congruence. Evaluating division performance. Motivating management effort. Preserving division autonomy. Okay, let's go through each one. So in this case, we've got goal congruence because they have excess capacity, they can sell. And goal congruence is really talking about the goals of the overall corporation as well as the goals of the divisional managers. So goal congruence means that the goals of each of those parties is matching. All right. So we know we have goal congruence here because there is excess capacity and the airbag division is not losing anything by selling to the TiVo division. And the corporation is not losing anything by the airbag division selling to the TiVo division. So we have goal congruence, and I'm not going to write down why we have goal congruence, right? I've already explained that. So now, is this good for evaluating divisional performance? And the answer is no. And the reason why it's no is because the transfer price is less than the full cost of production for airbag division, right? They're going to sell it for their variable costs, not covering any of their fixed costs. So to say that, hey, we can now evaluate the airbag division based on this, that doesn't make sense. And keep in mind, they're being forced, right? It's required that they sell to the TiVo division, and it's required that they sell at the incremental cost. So you can't really evaluate them on profitability when they're not going to have any profitability, because the profit on this sale is going to be zero. So this is not good for evaluating the airbag division. Sure, TiVo is going to be super happy, right? They would have to pay $125 for an external airbag, and they're only paying $90. They're going to be very profitable. TiVo is going to be hugely profitable, but the airbag division, no. So this is not good for evaluating the performance of the airbag division because they're not covering fixed costs. So if they're not covering fixed costs and 80% capacity doesn't cover fixed costs, they're going to be in a loss position. So now let's look at motivating management effort. Well, that depends. So I'm going to put yes if the transfer price of the incremental cost is based on budgeted incremental costs. In this case, oops, let's move that. In this case, management of airbag division has an incentive to control costs, right? Because if they're going to say, okay, $90 is the budgeted incremental cost, we're going to transfer it at that budgeted incremental cost, they can make money. The airbag division can become, more profitable if their actual costs are $89 or $88. So it's motivating the management of the airbag division to keep their costs as low as possible, because then they might make some profit. Well, I don't mean profit, but they might make, they'll transfer at $90. It'll only cost them $88. They'll have $2 to go against their fixed costs. So in this case, it is motivating the management of the airbag division to control costs. If they're transferring at actual costs, they're not motivating management, because if management now next month says, oh, well, now my actual cost is $92 and I'm transferring it at $92, there's no incentive for them to control costs at all, right? Like, why would I control costs if I'm allowed to transfer it at whatever it costs me? So it's only motivating management to control their costs if they transfer at budgeted, and then management of airbag division can actually cover some of their fixed costs by controlling their costs. Is it preserving division autonomy? And the answer is no, because it says right here, they are making them use their excess capacity and they have to sell it at incremental costs. So the answer is no, right? They are being forced to sell to the TiVo division at incremental cost. So there is no autonomy at all. None, zero. Okay, let's look at item 3. So item 3 says, if the two divisions were to negotiate a transfer price, what is the range of possible transfer prices? So the minimum we already know, right? Well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to copy it down here. There we go. We've got the minimum transfer price. Here it is. So we know the minimum transfer price is going to be equal to $90. Okay. The maximum price, transfer price, is going to be equal to the market price. And why? So this, of course, is going to be the $125. Here we go, $125. That's the maximum. And this is the maximum because this is the most. So this is, let's put this down, the lowest price that the airbag division will accept. Anything below that, they're going to actually lose money, right? If they have to transfer at $89, they're going to lose $1 of variable costs. There's no way they're going to do that. Okay. This is the highest price that the TiVo division will accept, because if the airbag division charges $126, the TiVo division is just going to go to an external supplier and say, hey, let me buy it for $125, right? So in a competitive market where there's lots of players, the TiVo division will simply go somewhere else and purchase it for $125. So the lowest price that the airbag division will accept is $90, and the highest price that the TiVo division would accept is $125. So the transfer price is going to be negotiated somewhere between those two things. Now, keep in mind that this transfer price the negotiated transfer price will depend on the power of those two divisions, right? So there may be internal politics that is going to impact the bargaining strength of each of these divisions, but definitely it will not be higher than $125 or lower than $90. So it says to evaluate this negotiated transfer pricing policy using the same criteria. So we're going to just copy here and we're going to paste it over here. Okay. Goal congruence. Yes, it's the best for the company. So I'm just going to put yes and talk about it. So it's the best for the overall company because now the airbag division can be producing at capacity, and that reduces our production volume variance for our fixed costs. So going back to chapter 7 and 8, that's what it's doing. So absolutely, it's in the best interest of the corporation altogether, and it's in the best interest of both of these divisions because they get to negotiate, they get to have some autonomy. The airbag division could negotiate higher than $90, which will cover some of their fixed costs. The TiVo division will make sure that it's less than $125, which means they're saving money and they're going to be more profitable. So altogether, it helps the corporation and it helps both of the divisions. Evaluating divisional performance. Well, the answer is yes, because this is negotiated. Right? Both divisions are making themselves, both divisions are trying to be as profitable as possible by negotiating the transfer price. And so again, the negotiated price, the transfer price, is going to be affected by the power, the bargaining power of each of these two divisions, but we can evaluate the performance because both parties are controlling the transfer price. And by doing so, we can now say, hey, we can evaluate the divisional performance on profitability because they had autonomy. They were able to negotiate their own price. So we should be able to determine their profitability. It's not an arbitrary thing. Motivating management, yes. And here, it's because the transfer price is really, transfer price negotiated is independent. Oh my goodness. Independent of the actual costs in the airbag division. Right? And what does that mean? It means that they will try to maximize the transfer price and minimize their costs to be as profitable as possible. Right? Because that's what they're going to be evaluated on. So they're going to be motivated to control their costs and motivated to maximize their transfer price. Preserving divisional autonomy? Well, the answer is yes, of course it is, right? Because it's negotiated between the managers, right? It's not like top down or anything like that. The managers are making that decision themselves between the two of them. Do you prefer the transfer pricing policy in requirement 2 or requirement 3? Explain your answer. Well, it's fairly clear. We can't evaluate. So this is bad, right? This preserving autonomy. No, this is bad. Here we ended up with yes, 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 and yes. So of course, the negotiated transfer price is better. Now, we do have goal congruence in both of these cases. It's not like we don't have goal congruence, but the problem is here we've got some negatives. Here we don't have any negatives at all. So that's 22-23.